Hello there. As you go through anorexia recovery, do you find yourself particularly needy and you kind of don't like that feeling? Well, watch the following video, like or subscribe, and peace. Hello there, my name is Billy Juliana. I'm 49 years old and I have a 40-year history of dealing with anorexia nervosa, and I'm currently following the recovery methods espoused by Tabitha Farrar, Kayla Rose Katecki, and Elisa Orris. And yes, today I am going to talk about neediness in anorexia recovery. But before I get there, I do want to mention that I have chat forums set up on my website, which is billyjuliana.com. And if you just go to that website, then click on the socials tab, and then underneath the social tab, you'll find forums. Click on forums, and you'll be able to register if you haven't registered already. It's completely private and anonymous and secure, and it's just a place for those of us who are older and going through recovery from anorexia or from restrictive eating disorders to get together and be able to share our experiences, our strength, our hope, our fears, our frustrations, anything we need to vent about, all in a very safe and secure way on that site. And believe me, I'm not getting any money from this or anything. I'm not trying to sell a product. This is just a place for people to be able to congregate and create a community from across the globe of safety as we battle against society and battle against our own heads in many ways as we go through anorexia recovery. So just check out the site and just see if you want to post anything. Again, it's completely anonymous and it's also free. Don't worry about anything like that. Okay, so now let me jump to neediness in anorexia recovery. First of all, I want to go back into my own past and just kind of describe what neediness has been like for me. I've always perceived myself as a very needy person, but I've always been extremely afraid of that neediness. So I've kind of squelched it through anorexia. And I perceived that around me that neediness was not good. It was actually something that people in the world could do without. They could do without a needy person clinging on to them. And so I always felt like I needed to kind of rein in any kind of neediness that I had. And in terms of neediness, I mean other people, love, care, support, those fundamental things, and also food, nourishment, and rest, and relaxation, and calm, and all of this kind of stuff. And so throughout my life, I've been kind of scared about admitting that I need this, that, or the other. And it's been hard for me. And I know that attached to that fear of letting my neediness be known is also a feeling of resentment. I have this anger inside that I can't express how needy I feel. And it's the needs of a child. You know, I feel like my needs are kind of like a kid. I really need parenting really, really badly, or a loving overall kind of mother nature source to kind of help guide me through my life. And so there's been these feelings of desperation with that, and also resentment. And so to take care of the overwhelming need that I thought I had with comparison to everybody else, I basically restricted. And that restriction was a way of saying I'm not as needy as I actually am, and I don't need other people as much, and I don't need food as much, I don't need anything as much, so I'm just going to whittle everything down to this very restricted place. And that's what neediness has kind of looked like for me. As I go through anorexia recovery, I feel the need a lot more strongly. With anorexia, that neediness gets tamped down, you know, but as I go through recovery and I eat more and I nourish myself, I feel kind of like a kid again. You know, I feel like I need to be guided and lots of help. And I also feel like I need tons of food, and I feel like I need tons of rest. Just, you know, make the world go away in a sense, while I also need the world. So it's that kind of combination of things. But I actually am now coming to terms with the fact that this is kind of normal, that every human being out there on the planet has needs. And a lot of people are able to kind of figure out how to meet their needs. And then there are those of us who have somehow perceived that our needs are too much or too greedy or something like that. And so we've tamped them down in some way, shape, or form. So let me relate a story from my past. Since I have such a long past, since I'm bearing down on 50 now, that kind of shows a situation of need in a very high up sense. This is not the best description of neediness that I could come up with, but it just came to me and I was like, why not go with it? Anything that comes to me in the moment, I'm like, must be important. So let's just go with it. All right, so
that's why you need.
All right, so before I get the story out now, I just want to say one thing. Yes, I am relating a story that is on a higher level of need for a reason, and that is because I think a lot of us perceive our needs as way too greedy. I know that I have. I'm constantly looking around the world and comparing myself to everything out there to see where I fit in and to see how I size up, no pun intended. And so I just want to say I need to scrap the whole comparison piece, because comparison in anorexia is a weapon. Anorexia is a very competitive disease. We all know this. And so we're constantly comparing ourselves to others. And within the disease itself, there's so much comparison about weight and all that kind of stuff. That just needs to be scrapped. And I need to scrap all of my comparing myself to other people in the world as a whole. It just needs to go away, because I am a human being. I have a place in this world, no matter what weight, shape, or anything like that. I have a place in this world. I deserve to eat. I deserve to rest. I need to correspond with other people. I need to interact with other people. I need to be here for other people. I also need to be here for myself. And so I am a human being. I just need to act like a human being. All right, so having said that, let me get to my story. So about 28 years ago or 29 years ago, I was living in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was down there because I was in treatment, and I had finished the treatment course, the inpatient course, and I was now living in a recovery residence. And during the day I would work, and I was working at a record store. Do y'all remember record stores? They used to be really popular. Now we have like kind of vintage vinyl record stores where they sell used records. That's kind of a trendy thing. But for a while there were no record stores. But back in the early 90s, record stores were all the rage, and big corporations had record stores all over the world. And I worked for one of these corporations. It was Tower Records, and I was working at the Atlanta branch. And so this was between Christmas and New Year, so it was the holiday season, but the regular gift giving part of the season was over. So just want to paint that picture, because we're talking early 90s, popular record store, but the busy time had passed and it was sort of a quieter day at work. And me being who I was back in the day, up to now even, I had a broom, because whenever I wasn't doing something for my particular section in the record store, I bought the oldies section. I was the buyer for the oldies section. That's a whole different story. But anyway, if I wasn't doing something like that, if I wasn't interacting with salespeople and all that kind of stuff from the different record companies, then I was cleaning the store. I was picking up in some way, and always basically had a broom. So yes, I was sweeping. And so I was sweeping the store, and it was a quiet day, like I said, and this man came in. He was a customer, and he was wearing a baseball cap, and he had a nice leather jacket on. I remember that. And he had on jeans, and he had glasses, and he just looked like a regular guy. And because he is a regular guy, right? So he just proceeds to come in, and I'm sweeping, and I'm just like, whatever. And but he's really kind of seeming to be excited, like he's kind of flitting from section to section. And about an hour goes by, and yours truly is still sweeping, of course. And I realized that this man is still there, and at this point he had a Tower employee with him, and he was just giving the guy CDs to hold like a stack, because he was going to buy all these CDs. And so I was like, what's going on here? And then I realized, oh, wait a minute. That's Elton John. Yes, indeed. That was Sir Elton John. He had come into the Atlanta Tower. Now, if y'all don't know, I don't know if this is in Rocket Man, if there's any scenes in Atlanta in Rocket Man. I haven't seen the movie, but Elton did, or Reggie, or whatever you want to call him, he did live in Atlanta for a while, and people that worked at that tower had told me that he did come in every now and then, but I didn't ever expect to see him. I never expect to see Sir Elton John. Are you kidding? But there he was. He was in tower, and me with my broom, I start following him around, like discreetly, if you can call it discreetly. I'm sure he was like, yeah, right, I'm totally being tailed by an anorexic sweeper. But anyway, he's, piling up CDs, and I'm sweeping around, and he seemed very, very excited. He seemed like a really nice guy. And finally he decided that he was going to go buy his pile of stuff. He was done and he was ready to go. And so he went to the cash register, and there was a cashier working the register, but I decided that the area behind the register needed sweeping. So when Sir Elton went to the cash register, so did I, and I went behind and I was sweeping. And so they run all his CDs through, and the total comes to about $1,500. That's not a lot of money, but it was kind of back in the day, especially for a record store, that was a lot of money. And I'm sure that he was just, shopping in that time because it was going to be quieter in the store, and it may have been gifts for other people. Part of me was wondering, what are you doing in a record store since you're like a musical god? What are you doing in a record store buying music? Isn't it free? But he's human. He has to buy his own stuff, So get that through my head, Anyway, so the total comes to about $1,500, and Sir Elton hands over his Amex. And so the cashier takes the Amex and puts it into the machine, and the machine comes back with the message, declined. Yes, that means that Elton John's Amex was declined at Tower Atlanta somewhere around December 30th, 1991. Just put that on the record. No pun intended. All right, so what do we get from this? Well, what are the needs involved here? All right, number one, poor Elton John. He needed retail therapy. In many ways, he needed all those albums. He needed patience. He needed the help of the people at Tower. He needed the further assistance of the people at Tower to help fix the situation. So that's one situation of need. And then there's also Amex. Amex, a big level corporation, they needed reassurance. Don't know why, but for some reason, American Express needed reassurance that this man was good for the money. And then what did Tower need? Tower needed to be very patient. So we, with Elton John, needed to be very patient in this situation. And we also needed to do some diligent work. So we needed to figure out what was going on. So did the people at American Express. They needed to be diligent on getting their work done as well. And we all needed to kind of come together here and figure this out. In the end, what happened was Sir Elton politely said, "Shall I just come back?" And we were like, yeah, why don't you? It'll take us a minute to work this out, because the cashier was on the phone with Amex for at least 15 minutes while Elton John stood there waiting. And he finally was like, okay, look, I've got other things to do, so I'm just going to go, but I'll come back. And that's exactly what he did. He didn't have a crew or anything like that. It was a one-man show, and so he went out and he got in his BMW and drove away. I didn't see him come back to pick up the CDs. The situation did get worked out, and the next day when I came into work, everything had worked out. He had come back later in the afternoon, picked up his goods and gone, and had been very, very polite and gracious about the whole affair. And so this just paints to me that we're all in this together. And like I said, this is a very high level of need. And the reason why I want to say it this way is because I don't need to be talking about things that are grievous and hard and difficult. We have enough of that in our lives. We all are facing things that are difficult. But on every level of living, we have needs. And so we're basically all in this together. And so I need to just be able to say, I'm needy. I realize that everyone else is needy too, but I need to meet my needs. And so I'm going to do that from here on out. I'm not going to squelch myself down because somehow I don't count. And also this resentment that I've been feeling over time, I know that that's going to come out as I go through anorexia recovery. I'm going to start feeling resentment because all of a sudden I'm recognizing that I'm needy and I don't want to do that. And so there's going to be some anger involved in this whole process. There has been a lot of anger actually involved in the whole recovery process for me so far. So I just got to let all of this play itself out and just recognize that I'm okay, that this is what being human is about. I've really never experienced being 100% human up until close to now. I mean, really, I'm still working towards getting to where I can call myself 100% human, but I'm much farther along that path. So this is all an illustration just to show you that I believe that, yes, we are needy people, and that as I go through anorexia recovery, I'm going to start feeling the needs more and more. And it's okay to ask for things that I need, and it's okay to give myself the things that I need. And a lot of us are doing recovery on our own, and that's great, but we also need support. And so I just want to say at the end of this video that I have a nice support system that I owe my gratitude to. And one of those people is my therapist. Now, I want to say that therapy is a whole other topic for another video, so just get ready for that. But I will say thank you to my therapist for helping me get, in part, this far. It hasn't just been my therapist, it's been a lot of people, and it's been me as well. So thanks to everyone. All right, so with that, please eat unrestrictedly, rest for a prolonged period, no more body weight suppression, take care, and until next time, peace.